Good evening, EDU 522 students and Dr. Potts. This is Chris Curcio, and this is my curriculum design models video presentation. So I work in Philadelphia, in a district as large, diverse, and transient as the School District of Philadelphia only has one feasible option between the product and the process model of curriculum. It's the product model. Designing the curriculum of the process of learning content simply would not work with the majority of our population. We are a city of neighborhoods, and in one neighborhood, you could have children who are the offspring of master's degree teachers and nurses, whereas 2 blocks down, you might have a 13-year-old who's the unofficial caregiver of their younger siblings. On top of that, you need to consider the major inequities amongst resources within the individual schools. Certain schools are built 5, 6, 7 years ago. They have modern chemistry sets, they have modern labs, they have modern equipment. Whereas a couple blocks away, you have schools that have no lab and dated, broken equipment. There are layers and layers to this inequity, in other words, that are simply too great to plan for common learning processes to be expected across the district. They don't have all the same resources. In contrast to this, the product model can be universal. Well-written and clear objectives can be a curriculum plan for Philadelphia. If schools know what their students are expected to master this skill and they're expected to master by this time, they can figure out the rest. In many respects, this is what was already currently in place. A concern with this plan is the inequity amongst buildings and students, just like with the process plan. While this is a real concern, it's also an opportunity for teachers to get creative and figure out ways these objectives can be mastered with the resources that are available. One could even argue that this freedom to be creative would inspire and foster the energy necessary to make desired gains. This is where the two models are logistically different. One model specifies how you do it, the other model specifies what you're going to do. But if it gives you the freedom to use the resources how you please, that's where Philadelphia would thrive the most. It's for these reasons that a product model curriculum would be appropriate in the School District of Philadelphia. More specific components of this curriculum are clarity, consistency, and reliance on data. Clarity is important in education. When objectives are clear, schools can plan for success the best way they know how. And success in education revolves around an ability to communicate with students. After all, who knows the students better than their teacher? So consistency is another wildly beneficial component. This product center model gives the central administration the opportunity to stick with the same objectives, be consistent for an extended period of time. And any veteran teacher can attest to the idea of fixed goals being of incalculable value. The longer objectives stay the same, the better a teacher knows how to successfully teach, period. Lastly is the abundance of relevant and standardized data that comes with this curriculum. If mastery of certain skills is the expectation across the district, then formal assessments can be given in regular intervals to recognize growth. With such a large and centralized district, these assessments can be applied across the whole or targeted towards specific networks within the district. Regardless, if the expectation is to master skills by certain times in the year, these well-placed assessments can provide early data on trends. If this model were to be implemented, it would require some central office changes. On the one hand, it would decentralize the ordering of curriculum materials, leaving more to the discretion of local administrative teams. On the other hand, it would require more planned and coordinated assessments at key points throughout the year. This change certainly does put more of the onus of school success on local administrative teams. However, with my experience, educational professionals they desire the opportunity to take ownership of a situation. They seek the chance to make the decisions which they believe would most support their students. This shift in curriculum could even be a call to arms of sorts for the passionate and creative educators who felt like they've been overlooked in the past. This is a point where I need to reiterate the idea that 202,000 students do not fit into a single mold. Our student population, one more time, has layers and layers of variety to it. This is why learning theories are more difficult to apply here. Even with that being said, a behaviorist approach would be the most appropriate and the most fitting for a large portion of our students. Not all students in the city are poorly disciplined ones, and not all of them come from bad backgrounds. However, many of them do. And even the ones who don't come from those backgrounds, they're regular kids who are on grade level. They could still benefit from the cause and effect nuances of behaviorism. This, like the described curriculum, will allow the opportunity for creative teaching, which is at the heart of modern learning. If my goal is to get my students to recognize advantages and disadvantages of different forms, allow me the opportunity to figure out how I'm going to do that, because all these different students have all these different abilities, who have all these different backgrounds and all these different resources. Allow me to do it in a way that fits my students the best. In the end, it's tricky to plan a curriculum for so many so varied students. In reality, it probably can't even be done. So the major contributing factor, major justification of what I've explained is the opportunity for local administrative teams and teachers to stop being the rule followers and start being the problem solvers. The idea is if you give local professionals the ability to teach their students the best way they know how, expectations should and would be met. Thank you. Chris Curcio out.